Hello, everyone. I need to wait till the moment when the screen will start on YouTube because I hate these mute uh, mute actions. But wait, yeah, yes. So here we go. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike from Projector Design School. I think that some of you know me, but it doesn't matter. So I'm really excited to be here. I will be hosting this event tonight. And thank you all for joining us today. We have more than 1,000 requests to join this event tonight. So it will be a crazy party, I guess. Before we'll start, I want to remind you that today we'll be talking about different aspects of UI design in 2021. But when I say we, I mean not only me and our honorable guests, which I will announce in a while, but also I mean all of you, because we'll be glad if you ask us some questions in the chat in YouTube. According to the fact that today we expect to see a lot of attendees, so we'll be limited in time before you will get bored. Hopefully not. I want to apologize if I will miss or skip some of your questions and announce just the most relevant of them. And to test our communication channel, please text to our chat, where are you from and what is your job? At least something. Maybe you want to add some more details. I really like this exercise because it's really like the teleport to different countries. I think that mostly, as I said to our guests, that mostly I think that people will be from Ukraine, but actually I'm sure that there are a lot of guests from Europe and maybe even further lands as well. And also I want to ask you to follow up our YouTube. My team asked me to do that, but I really sincerely want you to follow our YouTube because I have a lot of plans. I'm just starting doing these panel discussions, and starting from the next year, I have a lot of plans already, talking about marketing, management, and all other stuff, and design as well. So maybe you will be interested in that. I guess that's it. So I see that we already have a lot of viewers. Let me check how many of them. 150 already. It's cool. But I guess that there will be more of them. And I want to invite our guests to join our party. And I was thinking about introducing them, but I guess that it would be better if they will introduce themselves. And let's start with the only lady tonight among our guests. Ola, tell us please a few words about you.
Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be there. My name is Olga Shevchenko. I'm the creative director at Vintage Web Production, also an award-winning designer, a member of jury from different festivals and competitions such as awards, the Webby Awards, EDC Europe, and etc. By the way, it doesn't matter because I'm really happy to be there to talk with you about the new trends in 2021 and what's happening in this year. It was a very special year for everybody global because 2020 such beautiful number and also such beautiful situations and unexpected situations were there during this year. So nice to meet you, everyone.
Thank you, Ola. Yeah, this year was crazy and it still is. I think that, yeah, I just expect that nothing worse will happen, but it wasn't boring. It's really cool, at least something. Thank you so much. Diego, now it's your turn.
Okay, my name is Diego. I am the founder and head of design of an agency called Hanzo. In case you don't know us, please visit our website. We are a strategic design and engineering company from Spain with offices in Madrid and Barcelona. And I will keep it short. Thank you for inviting us. And I am very glad I cannot see all your 900 faces in front of me right here. It's slightly weird.
Cool, thank you so much. And now we will introduce man/studio. So please welcome Felipe.
Hi guys. So my name is Felipe Elioenay. I'm originally from Brazil, but I've been living abroad for the past like 8 to 9 years. I actually lived in Ukraine as well for a year. Yeah. So I learned a little bit of Russian just to get by. Now I forgot everything. And now I'm learning French here in Montreal, Canada. It's where I live since 2014. And I'm the solo designer and every now and then creative director of Ofcina.co, which is my design practice. I wouldn't say it's a studio because I don't have an office anymore. Like we do with this COVID things, it didn't make sense for me. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about me for now.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, once I got the once I got the letter from Philippe, and he texted me in Russian language, class or something was there. I was like, oh, what? It's happening something crazy, because for the few last months when I talk to foreign people, further they are, more they know Ukrainian or Russian language. It's quite something, and they are not familiar with our country, but they know. Some of them, they have a wife, for example, or girlfriend from Ukraine. Some of them were in Ukraine and lived for some time, like you did. It's really crazy. Thank you so much for introduction. And Henrik, please tell us more about you.
Yes, hi everyone. Great to speak to you, although I don't see you. I am Henrik. I'm a digital director at Heydays in Oslo, Norway. Although Norway is a neighboring country to Russia, I don't know any Russian, so that doesn't help me during this conversation. But I've been at Heydays. We're mostly helping startups, building brands and products for startups, making them or helping them off the ground, and also establishing them in their receptive markets. So I guess, yeah, that's the basics.
Cool. We have guests from all over the world, not all over the world. We don't have Asian experience tonight, but it's really cool because I hope that we will talk why I invited you from different parts of the world, because I really want to get experience from different part of the world. And I think that we will get back to this question, because I'm sure that you will share your experience from your part. But before we'll start talking about 2021 and trends of web design in 2021, let's get back to this crazy year. And let's talk about trends of 2020. Could you summarize what were the trends of this year for you? Which of them did you use? And all of this stuff. Who will start? Who will break the ice?
I can break the ice.
Yep.
So yeah, I think what we've seen was like this, apart from also I think one of the things that changed the most was the workflow, right? A lot of people were forced to work remotely, for example. Like I was used to that already, because since 2016, I've been, being an independent designer. So I always work with people from Europe, from Brazil, from the US, and here in Canada, but always remote, So like, I think the designers started to focus more on collaborative tools such as Figma, for example, that you can, use that to work on many hands on the same project. It's so much easier to share everything. So like, I think that made things easier, not just like the trend, the normal trends of like what we've been seeing, like the skeuomorphism coming back as, strong for interface and some websites as well. We've seen more like this change of workflow, and I think it's here to stay. I think people are starting to feel like it's not that much different than working side by side. So apart from the Zoom calls sometimes being a bit weird, and like a lot of people had to make like the background look better in their places. I think Diego doesn't have a problem with that, because he's an amazing home office there. But yeah, I feel like now we're gonna see more and more of those tools becoming more collaborative and more more like many hands on the same project, for sure.
Cool, thank you. Who else?
I can. For example, I just want to talk about a little UI trends, which I think for Ukraine, it was the trends of the trends. Well, firstly, typography has been gaining popularity. Custom fonts, brave combinations, using typography for patterns or in 3D. Bold colors were on peak in 2022. But yeah, typography in general is a new black, and the different combinations with the fonts are on trend, and I think it will be trend on in 2021 also. Next, animation, it has been there for a while, but lately there been a huge trend for emotional micro interactions. This particular part is essentially common in apps. I mean, there are plenty of things that keep development, VR, AR, and so on. But I said that the three major trends of 2020 were typography, bold colors, and micro interactions, if we just looking on UI trends for me, for example.
Cool. So it's top 3 from Ola. Cool. Thank you. Guys.
Okay, I will give a go. For me, I'm totally aligned with Felipe. I think the main highlight of this year was moving the entire workflow into remote. We as an agency, we have been always very remote. So for us, it was not something very new, but it was definitely the highlight of the year. And if I have to choose something else that happened this year, is that for me, 2020 will be remembered as the year in which UX design really became mainstream. No, it has been the year in which corporations, and I'm not talking about Silicon Valley corporations, I'm talking about your average retail bank or an airline, they really started listening to us designers. No? They really started appreciating that by applying the way we solve problems as designers, design thinking, they really can bring revenue, they can really bring competitive value, they can really make their products grow and their organizations grow. No? So I think this is very good news for us designers. As a result, our job titles are changing. And I'm seeing more and more designers accessing to management positions in the big companies, which is really good news, not only because our pay is going to be higher, of course, but because we can start influencing the products in many different ways that before we couldn't be capable of. So kudos 2020, at least there was one good thing this year. In terms of design craft or UI, I think that I am as well aligned with Olga. I think this year was the year of the animation. Sometimes a bit too much, no? Some websites, they induce you motion sickness. I think we have seen a lot of monochrome identities. That is a trend I really pitching. I really like it. We have seen as well branding mockups everywhere. Have you realized how many posters people are designing these days? No, I haven't seen so few posters in the street, but more posters in designer portfolios ever. It looks like everybody's doing billboards and stuff like that. A lot of abstract 3D, no? This is something I really like using 3D, but not for emulating real world objects, but more for textures and feelings and stuff like that. And I think I'm probably forgetting many, but more or less that would be the roundup.
Cool. Let's make designers great again. Okay. Henrik.
Yeah, is that my coin? Make designers great again? No, I'm thinking a lot like around what Felipe said about the workflow moving into Figma has been like a savior during these times. Like we've never been so open with our processes towards clients. We're just inviting them directly into the work files. This has been amazing. And Miro as well as a work tool, which we run workshops with 30 people with no problem. So that's been amazing. But I think also like in general, like the tendencies I'm seeing is that I feel that there's a lot more diversity in terms of the expressions we see out there. It's like, I feel like we moved from digital being something you kind of had to go digital, and then you had like digital first companies, which is a bit strange. But now, like being digital is just something you are, and it's more room for expressing yourself in unique ways, which I feel is kind of the new what we're seeing more and more now, kind of moving away from being digital, meaning you use geometrical sans serifs. So it's a lot more experimental typography and of course motion and all those kind of things that's been mentioned. But I think we see like a broader spectrum of expressions, which I feel is great. And it's like, I feel that there's more focus on branding in the UI as well, and not just UI for UI sake or digital for digital sake, but actually broadening the aspects of it, which yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. I just want to mention that a lot of people texted. Thank you. All of you guys texted to our chat. Where are they from? One of them is Bruno Arizio. He said, "Hey, Felipe." I think that maybe you know him. So say hello to him back.
Hey, Bruno. He's actually a very, very good designer. We used to work together. We worked together on a project like in 2017 in an agency when I was like kind of spending some time in Brazil working with friends there. And he's been great. Like he just released his new Studio BA. The website is actually a very good example of like, very current design, something that it's lots of animations. He's very, very good with doing, After Effects and stuff like that to do handoffs. And this is actually one thing that I'm very curious about, processes and stuff like that. How you guys doing these things, how you guys animating, doing mock-ups, and if you go straight to prototyping, but we can talk about this later.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely. We could even talk about that now. And please, guys, all the people, all the attendees of this conversation, please text. If you animate your websites or even other interfaces, maybe even mobile apps or something else, just text. What do you use? Maybe send us some links with your portfolios or something. Text them to YouTube. We will discuss that later. And let's talk about animation 3D, because recently we just ended, as I said. So we had online conference about motion design, experiments in motion design, and it was crazy. I'm not motion designer or 3D designer, but I was listening about everything. They were so great, guys and girls. It was crazy. They did a lot of experiments. They code. Now everything is with coding, with this processing. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more? How do you do that?
It's getting better and better now. I think when I've been working for 12 years, and I know you guys also have a lot of experience. So I come from the times where there was like Flash websites. So websites in Flash were just like wild. There was like internet was like a no man's land, like you could do anything. There was no UX. Like what's UX, So like Don Norman, the guy that kind of came up with the terms like user experience, that he used to work at Apple. He wrote this like book about like a design of everyday things. And he's very good into like, explaining why things work and all of that. But when he was releasing that book, we were like doing crazy shit on sorry, I said shit, but I swear.
It's okay. We're without bow ties, so yeah.
Yeah, so we came from this like very wild experimental things, like, even web banners were like crazy. At one point we did like a karaoke on a banner, like that was how far we would go to like sell like a car or something like that. So we came from that, and then we moved to very boring, like mid like 2014, 2015, things started to get very boring on the web because Flash died. So thanks to Steve Jobs. And then it started to be boring, and the technology had to catch up. And I think the past few years it did. We have many ways to animate pretty much whatever we want with WebGL and like Canva stuff. You can do pretty much whatever you think all the filters that you have on After Effects or any motion that you create, that it's pretty much possible on code. But I think the next step is to make those. I think it's a good point that Henrik mentioned, like branding is everything now, So like people are need to do motion, but motion that matches their brand. You know, like it's almost like you create a character. You need to know, you need to come up with how they speak, how they move, you know? So like animations have to be used now with more, you know, carefully and match, you know, the vibe of the brand, you know, like their character. And I think for the next year, for sure, we're going to see more and more animations that are connected to the branding. They are not like just random or just to be cool. You know, that's one of the things that people need to understand about trend is to like, don't follow trends just by following it. Just understand what's going on, but try to like curate what you have to use for that specific client, that specific project, you know?
Cool. Yeah, you're looking to the soul of this issue. Cool. Thank you so much. Who else want to add something about animation and characteristics of the characters?
I really agree with this opinion, and I think that the motion is the king of a web design or UI, especially. That's a relatively new phenomenon. So the people who are good at it are still rare and pricey. Developers that can do both motion and coding can create promo websites by themselves. And I think it will be a new trend about the full stack designers, especially for Ukraine. It's not so popular profession and the specialists. That's why it will get new opportunities for designers, which gives them a whole new level of independence and different ways how to create the great concepts when they are independent. It will certainly affect UI in 2021. Web design is becoming more lively and interactive. It won't be back too boring, I think. So I think for designers, it's very important to look in the way of the motion, especially if you're UI designer, web designer, or a graphic designer or branding. Doesn't matter, because motion and interactive scenes are important today in such year, in such time in which we live.
Thank you. Thank you. I really like that you have this position because we have a lot of people from Ukraine, as I announced before. So it's really cool that you are like pushing this to our market, that we need to know code. We need to think about that deeper. Thank you so much. And what about Diego?
Okay, I generally separate motion into two different parts. No, what it is, motion graphics that has been existing forever. You know, I mean, as a brand asset, like motion graphic videos, and the other one is motion applied to user experience. No, motion applied to interfaces and motion applied to commercial products. No, for me, the second one has been a trend this year, but I think it went a bit off rails. You, Felipe, were mentioning the years in Flash, which I lived them very intensively, and I loved that period. It was super creative. But I really think as well that we made many mistakes by those years, no? And it was applying motion as just something to beautify the interfaces instead of a tool just for conveying some better user experience, right? So I think this year, designers are going to think it twice before they animate anything, because I think users are starting to, at the beginning, it was surprising. Oh, this text is moving. But right now, users are getting used to it. So it's starting to disturb you when you are browsing a website, right? So for me, motion design in UX this year is going to become, like they say in English, a tool of the trade, no? And it's going to be one tool more that we can use, like we are using color, we are using typography, we are using motion, because the websites are alive. But we are going to try to use it a bit with a bit more intention, no? In micro interactions, in places where it really has a meaning and it really is useful.
Cool, thank you. Henrik, could you tell us more about not only just about motion and animation, but about 3D as well? Because I saw a lot of cool works on the website of your studio, and I understand that you do a lot of crazy 3D stuff.
Yeah, but I think like just picking up the motion thing first, I I like to think of motion in terms of user experience as a kind of an aspect of tactility on digital surfaces, that you can kind of get a feel of how to touch things, at least for touch surfaces. That there's like those kind of aspects would be super interesting to see explored more, that you can kind of distinguish products or digital solutions just by how it's animated, and the easing curves and all those kind of things could be specific, which I think is interesting way to go. And I also see a lot of motion for motion's sake that's being said here as well. So you kind of use it when it's applicable and not just for the case of using it. I think it definitely is the way forward. I guess it's kind of part of like a maturing process of these technologies. And in terms of 3D, it kind of feels like that's the next step in a way of motion. You get new tools, like recently Spline was released, which is just like a super easy tool to start animating 3D objects. Even me with extremely limited knowledge about motion and 3D can start experimenting with it. So I think we will definitely see like a explosion of those kind of things in the next year.
Right.
So, yeah.
What is the name of this tool? Because I never heard about that.
Spline.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sure that this question should appear in the chat.
It's actually a great tool because it's focused on 3D for web. There are ways to integrate this with your websites. I was invited by the team to be a beta tester of that tool, and it's very, very promising. Because as Henrik mentioned, I'm also like not very much familiar with 3D environments and stuff. So for me, it was easy to just mock up something, and and now with like so many ways to integrate 3D, sometimes it doesn't have even to be rendered on. You can either render it on the web, or you can just export like sequences. And we use like loaded files to animate them, like maybe step by step, or like on scroll based animations and stuff like that. One thing, just to sum it up just to wrap it up on this motion thing, motion design is very for web, it's very it's common now, but it's still not great. We don't have like a perfect tool to do like prototypes for web. We have amazing tools for apps and tablet stuff, like for example Framer X or Principle or ProtoPie. All of those things you can interact with the design, and After Effects is very passive. But still, it's a nice way to do a handoff to a programmer, so he can even copy the Bezier curve for the easing and all of that. So it's pretty useful. And one tip that I have for everyone watching us is that Awards websites, they started like selling online courses, and there's one course, there's an introduction to motion design made by this very, very talented designer that used to work at Locomotive, which is actually a Montreal agency. It was Agency of the Year. They did like the awards website. They are amazing. And this guy is very hands-on on doing motion. So it's a very good introduction to that. And they also have more advanced courses on that. So like if you want, I actually taken that class. I learned a bunch on that class. So I highly recommend it. It's pretty affordable too.
Cool. Thank you so much.
I'm too. I want to say that the Locomotive is my favorite friends. We're together in Amsterdam and Berlin. So these guys really very cool. And if you have the opportunity to come to this course, I also recommend to go to these guys because they are really amazing.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I definitely, I remember, Ola, once I texted you, like, could you recommend me some cool guys? And you recommended me already this studio. I checked their works. They're dope. It's crazy. And I promise you to do some lecture or some talk with someone from this studio. So I guess that maybe all of you even will be the guests at this talk as well. So thank you so much for this. But while we started already talking about the education, let's jump to this section as well, because I really want you to talk about education, because I know that some of you already had this experience to teach, not only to study, and some of you maybe not, but anyway, you are directors, you are like managers and leads, so definitely you teach some people. And I want to talk also, we touched this issue before, UI and UX. Together or separately, because now I'm teaching in our school as well. I'm teaching basic UX, and it's quite tough. I know how to teach UX, but definitely I can separate them. Could you tell us more? We have a lot of courses about UI and UX, and what should be the line? Should it be how to teach new designers? Where should they start, and all of these aspects?
All right, that's a tough question.
Very tough question.
Yeah, okay. But if I say something that doesn't make sense, you guys can call me out. But like, I feel like, every one of us, we have like, a particular taste and desire to do things. So for example, I always being a little bit more visual than engineering. Even though I started as a front-end developer, my first job was as a front-end developer, and I still code to this day. All my websites, studio websites, was always done by me. But like, it's. I think what Olga said, that we have to be a little bit more full stack now, because we need to know how things work. So like, I am a visual designer, branding and user interface designer, but I know how things work. I know the technologies that when I'm designing something, even when I'm designing a website, I already put like, the H1 tags and, body tags, because then they can reuse that on the code. So they don't need to think, oh, is this a H1 or is this an H2 or a subhead or whatever, So that's important. But regarding UX and UI, they are the same to me. But if you go deeper in each level, then you start to be very specific. For example, in UI, you can be very good on just motion, micro interactions, prototyping, and like visual design systems, which is huge now. And with Figma, it's even better now with like collaborating with everyone. Designing components, designing. So it's almost like when I wrote an article like a few years back, that was like code first mindset for designers. So like when you design something, design components, design systems that you can reuse, because this is the way it's going to be coded as well. But if you go on the other route on the UX, there's like UX research, UX, like all of those things I'm not at all familiar with. You know what I mean? I don't work with like gathering data and all of that. I can take data and interpret it and try to come up with a solution based that is data driven, but I'm not the person that is going to go there. So like, I think if you are starting and you don't know what to do everything. And then at some point you're going to find what you more like, you're leaning towards to, so there are so many things that you need to learn. But like, if you get, for example, I think the education, it's so much more accessible now. When I started, like I had to go to university, to learn more and more, even though I didn't finish university. I quit like in the first year. But like nowadays, the internet is amazing, and it's amazing, but there's so much stuff out there that it's hard to find where to start. And because you need to experience to know how to search for something. So like I would recommend going to a website like designcode.io. For example, they have courses on anything UI and even like principles of iOS design, Figma and Principle and Vue.js if you want to program something. You have, React Native, all of those things. They have everything, like all the motion, everything, character animation as well, like video editing, sound editing, sound design for that's another tool for branding too. Like let's say Skype. If I open Skype here, you guys gonna know that I'm using Skype just because of the sound. It doesn't have, you don't need to look at the logo or see the interface to know that I'm using Skype, So all of those things are UI now, are UX, are all part of the same thing. So like go there, try a bunch of things that you're interested in. And if you find something that you really kind of connect with, and that you have like this, maybe, it's easy for you to do, go and specialize that, because it's good to know everything. But if you want to focusing on everything, you end up like not doing, anything really good. So, but you have to know everything, because you have to know how to collaborate with people that knows more programming or more motion or more prototyping. And so like, you have this broad vision, but you specialize on something. That's what I would say.
Listen to your heart, I guess that.
Listen to your heart, yes.
Okay. Who else want to talk about that? Education.
I can, sorry. Go ahead,
Henrik.
Your choice.
Yeah, no, I'm just, in terms of just like separating UI and UX, or UX and UI, I feel that separating them, of course, is not the way to go. It's been done too much. It's like you do the UX and then you apply the UI. It's often how it's been, the process has been, which I don't think is the way to move forward. But I think it's important to think about there's some core differences. I feel that like as a UX designer, you have to be really open-minded. You have to remove your biases. You have to be like super open to whatever input you can get in through user testing or user insights or whatever. While in UI, it's often there's more of an emotional impact or influence. So using your references or experiences in a different way than maybe in a UX world. Of course, you can use your intuition and all those kind of things when you have gained some experience. But like from the get-go, I think there's a little bit different mindsets. But I definitely think like the best products are coming from the combination of them. But it's just, I think it's important to be aware there's some kind of different mindsets. And personally, I work in both those camps. So maybe I'm more like a rational, systemic designer leaning towards UX than UI maybe. But yeah, it's there's some interesting differences there, I think.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I agree with every word. Okay, Ola.
I like this question, and I'm smiling because last Saturday we had the finals of 2 hours design battle. It's the such competition for designers where they need during 2 hours to make the concept of the landing page, but they don't see brief before, they just get the brief and they have only 2 hours to make this concept and design of landing page. And the task was to explain what UI and UX are and how they work. And it was really difficult questions, especially only for 2 hours to think about it and make a design. And I think that saying that UX and UI are separate or same is a mistake. They're not, for me, for example. They complete one another because one would be impossible without the other. If web design has only about UI, creativity, and wow, it would become irrational and chaotic. If web design was only about, for example, UX, however, poor UX would mean plain, boring websites. This is why I believe that the best case is when a UX designer that knows some UI teams up with a UI designer that knows some UX. I have the very interesting case and example. There is an amazing web design studio called Pantone and Iran. When I was in New York a few years ago, Pantone and Iran told me they like to set together a UX and a UI designer. Each one of them draws their own part of the particular website. And then they exchange and complete each other's work. Then they exchange again. Cooperation is the key, and it's exactly what we teach our designers, for example.
Cool, thank you. By the way, I want to say it's quite a secret, but I already texted to Anton and he agreed to be part of our conference.
Ooh,
yeah, so
great.
It will be online. I really want to get back to this issue just shortly that everything is online now because a lot of people, they are trying to steal, they're trying to fight against that. But I think that never will be the same. So the world won't be the same again. So I'm sure that maybe we will go again. Definitely we are missing all of these connection networks and so on at the conferences to meet our friends, to get the new connections. But guys, come on, now I have this option to talk to all of you at the same moment, and you don't need to have the vacation, to take the vacation from your home, from your work, and just go through the whole wall to the half of the wall, and it's really cool. And getting back to the question, Diego, if you have, yeah, because I think that it's really wide question. That's why I want to hear all of your opinions. Sorry to be too pushy.
Okay, I said at the beginning that this was a really tough question because I think mainly the idea of UX UI as two different disciplines is flawed. It's something that it never worked quite right? It takes for granted that UX is a discipline when I really believe UX is a process. It's not a discipline, all right? So, and as a process, it includes many different components. For us, UX is not a part of the design process. It is the entire process, okay? So from the very first spark of an idea to the last line of code, all of us, we are influencing a user experience at the end, right? So it's very difficult to tell a guy, like, how do I start into a user experience? I would tell them, for me, there are two types of different designers. Designers holistically, right? Those that they lean more on the strategy and those that they lean more on the craft, okay? And both of them, they have different disciplines inside, no? So for example, the ones leaning more in the strategy could be product strategy designers. They could be, I don't know, service designers, researchers, brand strategists. The ones in the craft, they could be, of course, interaction and visual designers, motion graphers. They could be copywriters because copywriting and content has a lot of influence over the user experience. And of course, they could be technologists because we tend to forget that technology is mainly the main component that is influencing the user experience. If the technology is not right, the user experience is super crappy, right? So to me, even technology is part of UX. No? Mm-hmm. So I think we need to move forward past this UX UI thing and start recognizing that our world is very complex and many different profiles and many different specialities that they kind of seem very niche, but you can see that in the job markets, they are already asking for these types of profiles, right?
Cool. Yeah, Diego, like it's funny that you mentioned that UX experience is the whole process because it really is, you know, it's like one of the best books on the subject is called The Best Interface is No Interface. At least for me, it was on one of the most like revealing books for me because
great book, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book because it talks about how we move into, you know, even voice interfaces, voice-based interfaces and all of those things. So the technology makes things easier in some cases until there's no interface. So you don't need an interface for something to help your day-to-day tasks or anything like that. You know, like there were a very good example. It was like when they started to have those smart door locks, and you know you could unlock your door with your phone, and you know like okay, what's your the goal with that is to make a better key, I guess, right? Something that's more that everyone that has access to the house doesn't have to have a key or anything. But then when they start to counting the steps to unlock a door with your phone, you had to unlock your phone and then like close the last app, browse for the app for the house to open so it was like 11 steps. And the normal key is just you take the key and you open the door, So like they starting to create, to improve that. And they come up with the idea of like proximity via Bluetooth. So you don't need to, this is a better key. You get close to your door, it unlocks because it sends your phone and stuff. And then you get in. So, but then for interface designers, we're like, but where's my design? Where's my pretty app? So like I did all that prototyping animation and shit. But like, that's the thing. We need to kind of remove ourselves and put the problem in the first place, So like that's a very, very good book. If you guys can grab one, it's called The Best Interface is No Interface.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I totally agree. I have, as I mentioned, now I teach this UX, and sometimes from time to time, I'm really fan of UX stuff and to do all the research, to analyze everything, to base everything on data and so on. And sometimes I'm going too deep. And mostly a lot of designers, they come with UI background, and I'm like, oh, just forget about that just for these 2 months. And I know that a lot of our mentors, they do the same. Let's focus now. We don't say that you need to forget about everything. Definitely, they should be together. UI and UX, you don't need to separate them. UX designer, even if you are deep UX designer, you always need to have this beauty inside. You need to understand the composition. You need to know the fonts. At least you need to have the basic stack of fonts, Roboto, Lado, and all of this stuff. You need to have them, not Comic Sans. You need to understand that Comic Sans is bad. Just about that. You're a UI designer. You don't need to be judged by someone. You like to draw really cool stuff. Yeah, thank you so much. It was really cool. So, and I want to go to the questions from the audience because we already forgot about that. I didn't, by the way, yeah. So we have the question about Eugene. What do you think about zero coding? Is it a powerful development trend or what? What future waits on it?
I will take this one because I am quite a fan of this no-code movement that is starting right now. I think we need to see the no-code movement. We need to see it from the perspective of design sprints. Okay, what the no-code movement is going to bring us is not a finalized product that we can just launch and pretend that it's working flawlessly. But the no-code movement, applications like Airtable, like Zapier, like Webflow, for example, they are bringing us the possibility of testing or user validating prototypes and ideas very early in the design process. So if you are conducting design sprints, you know that normally for a prototype, you don't have more than 1 day, that it usually happens on Thursday, right? That's no time for creating a prototype that looks like a real size prototype. So this is when the no-code movement, it can come very handy because it allows you to design a database connected to an iPhone application, for example, in a matter of a couple of hours, right? And that is a very powerful thing because you can get the feedback of your users on the product, or at least in the hypothesis or the theory of the product.
I am a huge fan of no-code tools. I started using them back in 2015 when I was like frustrated with Photoshop because there was no, well, then I moved to Sketch and then Figma after that. But so I started experimenting with that. And Webflow, it's funny you mentioned Webflow and Zapier because the two tools I use the most nowadays because my website is in Webflow. I did it. I customized it with a little bit of extra code, but it's all CMS. It's all there. It's super handy and it's easy to put it together quickly. And to be honest, I think if you need a more robust, website, maybe it's a service or something like that, for sure you need to go custom code. But a lot of we forget that not all projects that we comes to, at least for me, not all projects are complicated. Sometimes it's a landing page for an app, there is no reason to custom codes and a landing page that it's you know, the objective is to sell a product. It's a selling marketing asset, you know. So those things, it's like the no-code tools are perfect for that. There are even like now, I think Bubble, it's something like that. It's another no-code tool, but for apps, you know, so you can create really simple apps, or complicated, like, you know, Instagram, fully functional, and export code and make it, you know, happen with no codes whatsoever, you know. So I feel the no-code tools are the future, because a lot of clients are, as you mentioned, Diego, they are paying attention to design, but there are a lot of small clients that don't have the budget to go fully custom. And if you are a designer that can use very well those no-code tools, and don't mistake no-code tools for like not understanding code at all, because even Webflow, you need to understand what's padding, what's margin, and like all of those things. You kind of have to understand, you know, CSS styling and HTML markups, you know. So you understand that. So but it's all visual. You don't need to type anything. So it's way faster. And for sure, with Zapier, connecting with real data, designing with real data is something that is brilliant, depending on the project you're doing. So like you can do this with Figma, with Sketch, and you can do this with Webflow as well. So for sure, for next year and the next following years, we're going to have more and more no-code tools, and they becoming more and more powerful. There's one tool from I think it's from Russia, the ReadyMag. I used it all the time for presentations, for landing pages, for... Sorry?
It's gorgeous, ReadyMag. It was so surprising. Yeah. I tried it like a month ago, and I was so surprised of how much it has evolved and how useful
and
it is.
Animations, you know, and now they have, you know, you can put custom fonts, talking on about fonts like variable fonts, which is another trend, the trendiest of the trends is variable fonts, and you can use all of those things on those tools. So like, yeah, it's gonna only get better, and at some point custom code will be for something really heavy duty, you know, like something that is robust. But yeah, designers have to go learn one of those tools and start using design sprints and everywhere they can, you know, because it is very, very handy.
But you know, now Figma is getting better and better in animation, in all of this prototyping. So it's really fast to use with all of these components. And I guess that it should be simple, as you said. So you need to know code, but you need just the basis. I guess that's why Framer X is dying, because they didn't get this point. They announced that they should be the bridge between. So yeah, they are just the bridge between the coder in the team and the designer. But all the designers, they expected like, oh, finally we will have the clickable prototype, not only prototype, but with usable code. But I think that it didn't happen.
Yeah, I gave up on it. Because it was way too much of a steep curve to learn. So, you know, prototype or a principle, you can get your idea across much faster and much easier for sure.
Did you hear about Supernova? It's the tool. They are doing some stuff, I guess, that for the last 2 or 3 years. And as I know that now they are ready to announce the next step. And as you said, that you can build the app, like simple mobile app, as I know that it's just for building just mobile apps, but they're pretty good, and you don't need anything to do, like just all of this stuff. It's hard coded, and you just can add some styles or something, but all the elements, they work like they should be, and as a result you will get like just some simple mobile app, which is cool. I didn't know a lot because I heard about that like a few years ago. And now I heard that, first of all, they're from Czech Republic. And once I went, because now I live in Czech Republic, and I went to my friend to WeWork. He invited me like, oh, let's drink coffee because I have here an appointment. Okay. And he said like, oh, here is the office of Supernova. They are ready to announce the new like level of the app. So like, oh, come on. So I think that I will visit their office as well. And as I know that they are quite promising, so they could just check it when you will have time.
Cool.
Maybe someone else want to add something, or we will move forward to animation and UI.
I think we can move forward because I just can add about one more zero coding platform. It's very popular here in Ukraine. It's Tilda, and I should to say about it. So it's also have a very big functionality, and for our designers, it's maybe easier platform than Webflow. But I believe that Webflow have a lot of opportunities, and the future will be for this platform. I really believe in it, and I like it very much.
We'll cross the fingers. We have the question about animation. So Alexander is asking, now that animation is an important part of UI, are lightweight sites going away, especially with the power of the nowadays computers?
I don't think so. I think animations are not as heavy as before, so it's easy to do things with just CSS, for example. A lot of things can be done just with CSS, no JavaScript or anything, and I feel like, of course, internet is faster, but the websites are actually lighter than what used to be with Flash, so you don't necessarily need like loading and stuff like that. And also like with the progressive web applications like a PWA websites, it's almost like an app. It's so fluid, and I don't think that it's gonna be too heavy. But to be honest, I don't use a lot of animations on my personal stuff because, again, it's not part of my branding. So that's why I don't use it much. But I try to use interactions and how the things behave, so like that saves a few kbytes. But like, yeah, I think it's not that heavy, but light websites that have their place, like, for example, Facebook doesn't have any animations, and it's heavy. And Instagram doesn't have many animations, and it's heavy on photos and videos. So when you want to do content first, for sure animations are second to none. Like there may be no animation whatsoever. So there are still space for like static websites, but they are more like focused on content, I guess, like maybe, a news website or, blogs and stuff like that. You don't necessarily need animations. You can have interactions that are interesting, but like you don't need really any motion design there, in my opinion.
Cool. Who else? Henrik, are you sleeping?
Yeah.
Or are you with us?
I'm thinking. No, it's but I think there's like the obvious answer is that there's like room for everything. So sometimes you will have some web pages moving in the direction of more motion, and then you of course have to be aware of performance and all those kind of things. And then will always be more traditional pages without motion. There's different use cases for those things. So yeah, I don't really have that much to add to this question, I guess.
and also like just one thing is that like you don't necessarily need motion for a website to be great.
Yeah.
You can focus on again, typography and color palettes and the content, which is like one of the most important things on a website. So you don't feel forced to use animation if the project doesn't call for it.
People are already nervous about the question, what are the UI trends of 2021? By the way, I guess that if you are asking this question, Alessa, you already missed few points because we already mentioned few of them. For example, zero coding apps, typography, which will move forward, animation, and so on. But guys, okay, let's talk about that because it's the topic of our talk tonight. So let's talk about, please, what are your predictions? Actually, I don't like predictions, but at least we can do something after this crazy year. So what are your predictions about UI trends 2021? Ola, you will start as a judge at awards. You should know more.
Okay. Okay. I believe there is an interface revolution that's awaiting us, but not so huge, not so huge. We are ready for it, and that's voice assistance. It's about the voice interfaces, and I think it's the way which will be developing firstly. Last year or two have proven that this particular type of interface is useful and progressive. Take voice messages, for example. I know that a lot of people hate voice messages, especially when they get them. And they say, why you're so lazy not to type some words and you need to make this voice message that I need to hear it. I'm not sure that I want to do it. But in some cases, our message will take a while to type, or maybe the thought behind it is complicated and you want to be understood the way you meant it. Or maybe you are just very busy doing something else, perhaps driving. I do a lot of things while I'm driving because I need to explain my designers or my partner what to do. And it's very safety for me and easier to make the voice message to send this information for the person. And voice messages are a great effective solution for those situations. And also if we look at the smart TV and the e-commerce, think about accessibility, and the accessibility, it will be a very, will have a lot of attention to this trend, to understand that all websites, all apps, they need to be accessible. Then I assume a lot of the flows in e-commerce will be fixed. Payment will be simplified to one click only, shipment will be upgraded to a global level, etc. I know that a lot of things are in America or Europe, but for Ukraine, it's not obvious. For Ukraine, for example, 2 years ago, when I want to buy something from America, I need to get a very interesting trip. I need to find a friend which live in America to ask him to buy it. I don't say about Amazon or other big platforms, e-commerces. I just say about some shops which are very special and is in only that country. And the shipment was a big problem for me, for example. And these aspects are more on the UX side. But UI designers need to take them into account too, because they will be the ones creating these icons, these layouts, these buttons, and these forms of these elements and components will be different and different from the time from this year. And in 2021, they will have, I think, another forms and another functions and interactions. Simplifying and speeding everything up as much as possible will be a hit. Processes should be fast and easier. So speed, it will be the main trend, and nobody likes having to wait or solve riddles. Illustrations will be a big hit in 2021. And I can say it from position as a jury. For example, yesterday I was in ADC Europe judging interactive and mobile. And when we have two cases with two powerful ideas, and ideas, it's very important in cases, but one case editing by pictures and videos, and another case has a craft illustrations, amazing craft illustrations. This execution will have more chances to be awarded. So illustrations, it will be the new, a little UI trend in our websites, apps, and others, which will make for us opportunity to do the very craft content there.
Cool, thank you so much. I think that it's quite expert opinion according to all those awards and all stuff. So let's move forward, guys. What do you think? I'm sure that you have something to add. About the fonts. What about fonts?
Variable and motion and those kind of things in fonts, definitely. It's been a big hit the last 2 years. Dia leading the way, I guess. But I think like picking up on what you said about illustration, I kind of feel that we see more photography now as well, in at least for branding. I feel that like illustration have been the default the last couple of years. And I'm happy to see that more people experiment with photo as well, because of course illustrations is it's also kind of a very adaptable format. It's easy to imagine something in an illustrative style instead of photography, because that's more documentary and it's harder to kind of envision something bigger. So I'm kind of hoping for even more photography. But also, I like for the trends, I think also some of the things we will see is we used to have like digital first companies. I think also now we will have more privacy first products. We see that trend coming from a lot of skepticism around the privacy breaches and stuff. And like, for example, My Mind, which is an amazing application which came out a short time ago, is really taking that into account, and I think that's super interesting. And I also, as Felipe mentioned, the no interface thing in terms of disturbances and all the pressure we're exposed to with our digital companions, like moving away from an app being the absolute answer to anything. I think we will see more of. The unlocking the door example is a good one. And of course, it's hard to predict on AR, but it's coming definitely. We will see a lot more without. I don't want to I don't want to predict the future of AR, but we will definitely see more of that in next year.
Yeah, it's my next question. So let's keep it for the next question, because I definitely want to cover this issue as well. Let's come back to the trends. Diego.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you
go.
Yeah.
I go, you go, Felipe?
Go.
Okay. So I think you guys touch upon most of the ones that I was going to mention. No, I really think that artificial intelligence powered conversational user interface are going to be very big, mainly because clients are already asking us for them, especially banks and entities that they have a very complex catalog of products, and they need you to navigate this catalog of products by extracting information from your profile and offering you products that they are tailored to the data they are extracting, right? So we are going to see this made better and better. For the moment, we have pretty nice chatbots, okay? But in the future, we are going to see it going beyond chatbots and being applied to the entire website, right? I think for sure, voice interactions are here to stay, and Olga was very right. And this year, I have started to see the first examples of this technology really working in websites. And I have used it and I have realized that, oh shit, this really works, right? So this is the moment in which you say, this is going to become the new normality soon, right? I think more and more immersive WebGL stuff is going to come and be here to stay. I think it's like the return of Flash, but with different clothes. But we are going to definitely see much more of this immersive stuff, and not only apply to brochure websites, apply as well. Recently, I have been seeing from Jam3, which is an amazing agency, Jam3. They have created a virtual shopping event that is totally immersive and it's amazing. It's just crazy, and it's converting, it's bringing revenue, it's actually fulfilling business objectives. It's not just a beautiful experience. So I think there's going to be much more of that stuff coming. But above all of this, I think there's one thing that is going to come, that is personalization. I'm really thinking that we are at the end of a design cycle. Sometimes I'm holding my phone and I'm jumping between Facebook and Twitter, and Instagram, and I don't know where the heck I am. I mean, they all absolutely look the same. All brands are starting to look the same. I recently purchased a Thermomix with my wife, and when the box arrived and we started unboxing it, I didn't know if I was going to get a MacBook Pro or a Xiaomi scooter, because they all absolutely look the same. All the brands look identical. So I really think that we are going to see the companies really starting to fight for having more personality, and this is going to be translated into interfaces, okay? So we are going to start designing design systems that they are aimed to be differentiated from the competition. And I think the rest we have already touched them, so.
Yeah, man, I think you're so right. All of you, actually. I want to start with something that Olga mentioned, and the design of forms on shipping and e-commerce websites. There's one thing that I notice in many websites is that like they don't understand that if you ship internationally, the way you write you structured addresses, street address and like postal code, they are all different in different countries, and they always put the country selector, like the drop down by the end, and then sometimes that changes the whole form and need to go back to change things, like for example, if I choose, because I'm in Canada, a lot of the things that I do is Canada, US, right? But in the US, they don't have provinces, they have states, so if I go there and I type my city and everything, and then I go to the state or province drop down, there's no Quebec there, I have to go jump to country, select that and go back to. So this is just like, it doesn't help, like it always frustrates me. So what I do usually, I just connect my PayPal and it does it for me. You know what I mean? Like, so like I don't have to think about it, but it's something that I always, why don't you move the country for just after your name and email country, and then everything else is tailored to where you live, you know what I mean? Like, so that's something that we have to take in consideration for sure on the UX UI side of things. But talking about trends, it's funny that we're talking, this is the topic, but like we need to be careful with trends too. We need to know where to apply them. We can't do things just because they are trending. Of course, doing something that is trendy will look current, but sometimes it's random. Like, why are you doing this? And for me, adaptive and kind of personalized experience with websites are totally the next thing now, because for example, I just saw this website called Album Colors. These guys just like put it like 2020 releases of music, and the website, every time you go in, it changes the whole color scheme to a different album color, so it's like you need to design and kind of let it go of your choices of color palettes, and kind of every time it's adapted to a totally new color scheme. And this is like, when responsive web pages started to happen, it was already difficult, for us to understand that our design will not look as pretty in every screen. You have to adapt it, and it won't look like those 20 pixels from this font to this font. So like, it's all like fluid and everything. And we're gonna see that with the fonts and with the, with like translated websites and, with geolocation and all of that. So like, we need to kind of be a little bit more loose with like what we do and make sure that this adapts to something that is generated by content or by location or by user cookies and stuff like that, And for sure, typography, it's getting better on the web. It's rendering way better now. And we have, variable fonts that can be used to convey ideas and all of that. But I feel like, more and more, machine learning for the bank chatbots and AI and voice will be integrated in many, many services and websites. I'm not saying that if you're doing like a website for like a landing page, you're going to use like AI, maybe not, but we're going to see more and more of that. And 3D, again, as Henrik mentioned, the 3D without being, trying to mimic the reality, but like creating abstract elements and scenarios and stuff like that. So we're gonna see way more of those things because they are not as heavy anymore to render on to do live rendering and just load it on a website. So we're gonna see that for sure.
Cool, thank you. I see that there are a lot of questions from the audience, and it's really cool because we push them to their site. So, and I feel that we won't have enough time for talking about AR, but okay, maybe it's the topic for the separate talk. But first of all, it's the really short. I think that you should answer just by one word: adaptive or responsive design?
Both of them.
Both of them.
Oh.
Okay, so what do you think? And it's quite obvious. I expected that this question will be today. So do you think neomorphism will become a new trend after latest Mac OS?
It is already.
Okay.
There is actually a new neomorphism. Yeah, I read his article on Medium. Like, it's true. It's like a more refined skeuomorphism, yeah. But just one short thing that I want to add to why this happened in the beginning with Apple. It's the same reason why when manufacturers started to change from wooden materials, like wood furniture, to plastic, they had to mimic the texture of wood because people didn't understand plastic. So that's why we did that for interfaces, because people didn't understand that I could click on something or touch something unless it looked like a real object that you used to it. And then after that, we went to flat design because people knew already what to do. And now we're going back, I think, just because it's a little bit more appealing and a little bit more refined than just purely flat design.
Cool. And one more question: what do you think will be? What do you think will become a new trend after glassmorphism? I don't think that it's trend yet, but again, do you want to add something about that? This glassmorphism with blur and all this stuff, but is it trend? Is it already there?
Mm-hmm.
Is it modern?
I think it's just because, now you can design in Figma or Sketch and have that effect. So people are just using it because they can do it now.
It kind of reminds me.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me back in the days when you design in Photoshop. Whenever a new filter was released, that was the new trend. So it's a bit like, hopefully the next one is noism. I don't know. Just like, but it's definitely depending on the tools. It feels like if Figma releases a new effect, that's reflected in the trends you see.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, we have some time for that. If you don't want to add something about these trends, so let's talk about AR and VR, because that there are more and more people who are ready to. So I don't know where do they take this information, but a lot of people talk about some AR glasses. I never read about that, so I don't know. Maybe you read about that, about AR glasses from Apple, which should appear probably next year, and it will change everything. And definitely it will reflect on the websites. So what do you think about that? Oh, maybe not about just websites. Okay, no, we're talking about
yeah. Yeah, I feel like with IKEA, the IKEA app that you can use AR to augmented reality to test things on your see how things will look on your house. And now the Chrome accepts AR as well. So you can do this with websites. Now I don't need an app anymore. So I was shopping for this lamp, and on the website I could use AR from the website to see if it would look nice on my desk It didn't look nice, so I didn't buy it. But but it's gonna happen. But I think more and more, with the deep fake, there'll be a lot of stuff with deep fake too. Like the website that The Weeknd released, where he talked to me, and he was singing and talking to me about the song, and just because I connected my Spotify to the website, so this will happen more and more, and it's kind of scary. And I think that one of the biggest apps, like the Face Swap, comes from Ukraine too.
Yeah.
And like we're gonna see more and more of those things. Memes. Things are not just for memes anymore. Memes are kind of influencing the real world for now, for sure.
Yeah, every time when I meet with my friends, every single time when we get after the third bottle of beer, someone shows me his girlfriend or her boyfriend with this like refacing and all stuff, and it's funny only for those people, So it's not. It's like that, but it's cool. It's cool. It's really something new. We already talked to these guys. They will be teaching at our school as well because they are crazy. They are doing something. They push TikTok from the first place, and TikTok. What? I don't know. I don't have account, so I can't judge that. But again, it's a really cool tendency to work. But let's back to UI trends. So, what do you think about AR? Will it reflect somehow on our websites and on our UI trends and so on? Maybe not next year, maybe.
I saw a lot of cases yesterday which already use AR, but it's not about the websites, for example. Even art galleries and museums in Europe featured AR. It interacts with the customers, explains exhibits, and so on. And I think that AR is already here, but we use it from different ways. There is no basic integration with web design yet. It's just more for fun, but it hasn't any opportunities or solutions for the customers by the AR in web design, for example. I guess the best thing to use here would be or QR codes or so marks, which will solve the tasks which customer do for the platform or for a website. And they will launch some cool interactions when scanned. But I think that's all. And AR are more workable in apps and in different installations, museums, or integration. But how it will be working in websites and how it depends on UI trends in web design, I really don't know.
Cool, thank you. Diego, I see in your eyes that you have your opinion.
I think it's very difficult to predict. I think we have plenty of really nice examples that they are very exciting out there already working with AR especially. But I think we still need this device that it makes this technology go mainstream. I mean, we had an attempt with Google before, but it was not looking like people were going to adopt the fact that you're wearing glasses with sensors on the sides and you're seeing interface images while you are talking to the others. So I think the entire humanity has to be prepared for adopting this technology yet. So it's very difficult to forecast if 2021 is going to bring some changes to this. For the moment, I think the usage is pretty residual in terms of market, which is, as you have been mentioning, little features in iPhone applications for making very specific tasks, or for example, with the iPhone that you can measure things, though it works really bad. It never gives me exactly the measure that I want. But it is a very, very promising technology. Again, I think it depends of a device being released that is adopted by everybody.
Cool. Thank you. That's it? AR, no opinions about AR? Okay, we have one short question, and I think that again, it's quite relevant. So what do you think about new Pantone color?
Oh, I love it.
I love it.
I don't follow much Pantone colors because I'm colorblind.
Whoa! What?
Come on.
Yeah. So like Pantone, it's fun to see like every year they pick one, but it doesn't, for me, it doesn't mean any, to be honest, it doesn't mean anything because it doesn't, like, we won't use that color just because it's the trend color, but it's always fun to see which one they're gonna pick. It's fun that they picked two this year. Was cool.
Cool. I think that it should be the color of the end of our conversation, because I see that all of you are tired. People are tired. Thank you so much. But it was wonderful. I got a lot of pleasure. You're amazing guys. We talked about a lot of stuff. I definitely gonna listen to this conversation again. And maybe I have this plan for a long time, but I guess that maybe it will be the first talk which I will transfer to SoundCloud, because or maybe to send to some other platforms, because there are a lot of people who are asking us, could you make us listen to your talks during our tram ride or somewhere? And today we didn't have any slides, and we talked about visual stuff, and it's cool. I think that's why you are so powerful. Thank you so much. Please follow our YouTube, because as I announced, we will have more free talks with cool people like these guys. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.